Welcome to another episode of Home Sweet Home with Russ, McClellan, and Friends. Here's your host, Russ McClellan.
Hey, how's everybody doing in the land of COVID? One more time with a brand new variant. Can you believe it? I don't even know how to pronounce them anymore. There's so many. It's going to be like tornadoes pretty soon. We got a letter for each one. You know, what letter is it today? You know, and I don't mean to say anything. You know, there's been a lot of people hurting and, you know, died from this, right? They say, 5 million people? That's a lot of people. But, you know, fear and the propagation of fear is interesting. I had a theory before I get into talking with my guest, the godfather of land planning himself, Dan Beardslee. I had a theory about, you know, what the government should do. And one of the things we're going to talk about today is government in general. Mainly local government, Chelan, Douglas County primarily, and what's going on there. But I had a theory. What did they say? They printed $6 trillion on our printing press in the last year or so. Is there 320 million Americans? I wonder if they would have paid everybody like $5,000 a month to get in shape. I wonder if that would have helped. Take your vitamins. Eat right. You know? I don't know. Something's got to give. It's just, you got to live your life, you know? And I think fear, that false evidence appearing real acronym, well, one of these days we're going to have to start just living and, you know, do the best you can. Tony Horton, the Beachbody guy, says, do your best, forget the rest. Sometimes that's the best way to live. All right. Good morning, Dan Beardslee.
Good morning.
Yeah, I was on my soapbox for a minute there about government.
Yeah, I saw you.
Thanks for coming in. Dan and I have known each other a long time, and for the couple people in Chelan, Douglas, and Okanagan County that don't know Dan Beardslee, he's a superhero. He probably is the smartest guy I know about land use and other things in life. He's been at it a couple years, a couple decades. Maybe more.
Like 5.
5 decades. He's a resource. He's a commodity. We need to basically write down everything he says because they're not making any more Dan Beardsleys. That's what I know for sure. So I really appreciate you coming in, talking on this show, and maybe we can try to make some sense of things. Maybe short-term rentals and all that loveliness that's been going on. I know you've been involved in that and being educated on that, and that is not an easy thing to do. Stay up on that one. And maybe we could talk a little bit about Chelan and Douglas County, and there's this magical Columbia River that separates them, and we kind of seem to be going in two different directions politically as it relates to real estate and land use. So maybe we get into that and anything else that might come to mind. So let me ask you something. Maybe for people that don't understand, and here's the thing. There was like, you were telling me off air, there's like 1,500 short-term rentals in Chelan County. And for the people that don't know what's happening is maybe you could fill them in, but to get straight to the point, there's only been maybe 200-300 applications to keep being a short-term rental. So there's a lot of people who don't know what's going on. So I hope with this show, we can at least tell people what it is, what's going on, and maybe where we think it's going.
Sure. Well, as you know, Russ, I work with the Realtors Association and the Builders Association, BNCW, which is a small business organization. We all are very interested in private property rights, so I stay tuned into all these goings on. And the short-term rental has been process has been an ongoing issue in Chelan County for the last couple of years. And in July, they finally adopted a new code. And according to the county, at least, there's something like 1,500 short-term rentals in Chelan County now, and they're all being asked to apply for these, what they're calling provisional permits, which are due by December 31st of this year. And there's only probably less than 20% have actually applied. By the time this airs, I don't know what it'll be, but it's a small number, really. So there's a lot of people out there that maybe don't even know what's going on or have chosen to ignore it. Well, we don't really know. The commissioners and the planning staff are wrestling with this. So it's kind of a big deal. And then there's you may have seen an article in the Wenatchee World just recently where the county building official laid out some scenarios that he feels where there's a lot of illegal conversions of garages and whatnot into short-term rentals, and they're refusing to issue permits on those, apparently. That all has to play out. The commissioners talked about it just in one of the recent meetings about it, and I'm not sure they're buying into that entirely, but it's quite a big issue, and there's a lot of money on the line. There's the industry itself generates something like $58 million per year in revenue, and that and of course that trickles down into all the other aspects of tourism in Chelan County, the people that clean the houses and the restaurants that feed the people that stay in the short-term rentals, and all of that, gas sales, whatever. So it's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, it's been going on, a couple of years, the argument, the debate, the meeting after meeting to have a meeting, and they finally passed something, right? But you know what's interesting to me about government, especially in the last, I don't know, half a dozen years, it seems like it's really ramped up. It seems to me like the local, whatever that means anymore, the affordable housing crisis is a component of the conversation around real estate. Most people that think about real estate that have been here for a while, that have a normal job, like a normal profession in North Central Washington, we see it every day. They're getting priced out. And sometimes people connect the dots between short-term rentals and affordable housing and then the nuisance factor. I retired in Manson, or I retired in Leavenworth, and I don't want anybody next to me making noise and having frat parties and no controls. And I get all that. I get the ideology on both sides. What's fascinating to me, though, is the one-dimensional thinking at times, where it's just my way. This is my way of doing it. And then these words like everyone and all these people. And you said they think there's maybe 1,500 vacation rentals. How many houses are there in Chelan County?
Well, there's around 13,000 single-family residences in the unincorporated portions of Chelan County, which is what we're talking about.
Yeah. If you to your point, if you took out tourism, I remember back in the day, growing up in Manson in the 80s, 70s and 80s, my dad would be like, and all his friends when he was alive, be like, get those 206ers out of our town, right? Like the coasties, they're all from the coast, right? Every single person they might have been from North Bend, but they're from the coast. And it was a farming town, and there was tourism, and but it was not, they weren't nothing like the objectionists that I see that are what I call the slice of heaven, which they've got theirs now. In the last 5 years now, let's blow the tunnel. It's just a strange concept, but try to imagine, Dan, what would it be like if we took the tourism dollars away?
Yeah, it's a huge hit, of course. Even if you look at the Chelan County website, the banners are all about tourism, people rafting and hiking and water skiing and that sort of thing. So it's a big component of Chelan County for sure. And of course, the interesting thing of places like Leavenworth, they've become too successful. When I was a kid, that was a logging town,
right?
Kind of a dumpy little logging town with a sawmill.
Yeah, we're seeing towns in this country, Los Angeles, for example, cities, not towns, where you just do enough things silly enough, long enough, people just leave. Eventually, I've had enough.
The interesting thing about the regulating the short-term rentals, in my mind anyway, and I've expressed this various times, that it's being treated, it's trying to regulate a behavior issue through the land use process. And the problem with short-term rentals that is expressed over and over again about the people that oppose those sorts of facilities are the obnoxious behavior, loud parties late at night, and it's really, in my mind, a behavior issue, not a land use issue. The land use issue is the building, that who's in it and what they're doing is the problem, but they're attacking it through a land use process. And in my view, that's a mistake, but nobody elected me to anything. So
Yeah. I mean, I'm 100% agree with you. I mean, you break the law, get arrested. All right. I mean, but don't tell somebody they can do something for 50 years and then tell them they can't in a day. I mean, this whole thing about private property rights, people don't get it. It's like the Second Amendment. If you don't want guns, fine. It's America. You can say whatever you want. But this idea that Second Amendment's a great example. I'm going to take your clip away, and then I'm going to take your bullets away, and then I'm not going to take your gun away. It just doesn't lead anywhere. That's a positive solution, because there's this extremist point of view on either side, rather than taking a look at the challenges and, like you said, the behaviors, and then maybe addressing them. And now we're 2 years in, they've passed a law, now there's lawsuits that are attacking that law, and then we've got all these people that probably don't even know what's happening. And that's something that's really a sad situation for those investors that have invested in our communities. They do love to come over, and many of them have been coming over here for a long time. So when we get into the second segment, I mean, it's hard for me not to get a little bit on my soapbox 2 years into this, because I've been watching it, and I just see some real pain coming down the pipe for people. And, at least maybe this show we can educate them on what's going on in the next couple of segments, and hopefully we'll be better for it. So we'll be right back in a few minutes with Dan Beardslee, the godfather of land planning.
Keller Williams, you make dreams come true. Oh, sweet home. Oh, sweet home.
Hey, this is Russ McClellan with Keller Williams. I want to talk to you about something. Do you feel stuck? Do you feel the financial pressures of the COVID virus? That was fun, wasn't it? I'll tell you what, real estate can be a game changer for you, and I'm here to help you. If you want to give me a call at 509-888-0038, I want to talk about your life and getting unstuck. We are growing rapidly. We're the fastest growing real estate company in all of North Central Washington. Give us a call. I want to help you. 509-888-0038.
With the new Keller Williams School of Real Estate, you can now get your license for free. Access tools, tips, and personalized coaching with Keller Williams' award-winning training programs, and start off your career in real estate the right way. K-Score is 100% online and entirely free to students, with pre-licensing curriculum geared toward placing aspiring agents on a direct path to licensure and profitability. With K-Score, we're not just unlocking the door, we're opening every door to anyone that's ever dreamed of starting their career in real estate. We're making a difference for you so that you can make a difference for others. Now available for all individuals in Washington. Your future awaits. Enroll today.
We're excited. We got a lot of people signing up, so give us a call, 509-888-0038, or simply email us at joinus@kwncw.com. Let's go from being stuck to unstuck.
You're listening to Home Sweet Home with Russ McClellan and friends. And here's Russ.
Today I got Dan Beardslee, and we're trying to figure out short-term rentals in Chelan County, among other things. So, Dan, we said it in the beginning of the last segment. They think there's about 200 applicants that have made that decision or made that application to be a short-term rental.
Yeah, as of the day this is recorded, of course. But by the time this airs, I don't know what it'll be. But it's a very interesting process, because another fellow and I, who's actually in the short-term rental business, we made an alternate proposal we thought was really elegant, because as before the break, I was talking about the behavior versus land use issue, and it's really, in my mind, a behavior issue, and modifying behavior requires enforcement.
Yeah.
And there's lots of tools that the county has to work with in terms of enforcement. They're already on the books long before they passed the STR ordinance, including noise ordinance and obnoxious behavior, that sort of thing. But the lack of enforcement of those, it was a real conundrum, because usually by the time somebody reports it and it happens, by the time the police get there, it's done, it's over with, and they can't fix it. But we proposed a process where instead of treating this as a land use process, you just register all these STRs, and the STR industry usually doesn't have a problem with that. You have a registration process, and then this registration costs you, like, just pick a number, $400, $500 a year or something like that to operate your STR. Not a business license, just a registration. And then if you have 1,500, you can do the arithmetic. That's 1,500 times 3 is 4.5 million. Maybe you're generating in a year, and dedicate that to enforcement. I think that would be you could have dedicated people assigned just to that task where they could respond in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Then you could make some real progress on the real issues rather than trying to attack it through a land use process. We didn't get anywhere with that proposal, but we thought it was sort of an elegant idea.
Yeah, I mean, you go from zero. It's like a windshield wiper approach, and they had all these debates for a long time, many meetings. One of the things I'm seeing, Dan, is scary is in the real estate game. We have about 70 real estate brokers here at Keller Williams and a whole bunch of people in our free real estate school. I think we're like pushing 40 students now, and we're growing rapidly, and we're selling a lot of real estate, and are also dealing with a lot of real estate brokers that don't have a clue. Not just here, but many real estate brokers are coming over the mountains now. They're working from the west side, bringing their clients with them, and they have no idea of what we're talking about. Many days there's 3 or 4 calls I get in a day from other real estate agents looking at our listings, and I'll say, and they want to use them as vacation rentals, and they're as excited as they can be, and I'm like, you need to really slow down, and you really need to disclose, because we have a fiduciary obligation to be an expert advisor to your client, and ignorance is not a defense. This is a topic, and this is a dangerous thing for people to do anywhere where you're not really familiar with the area in which you're selling, even though you're technically licensed. I always tell people that I would never take a friend of mine to a downtown Seattle condo. I might take my enemy and represent him because I don't have a clue. Like I've been in the business 30 years, and I wouldn't have a clue what to do in a downtown Seattle condo. But people will come over on this side of the mountains, and I'm all for it. They're licensed, and I cooperate, but. Boy, can you imagine if you don't disclose and somebody drops $1 million?
Yeah.
And then they go, sorry.
Well, it's a big deal for the real estate industry. I think I've heard some horror stories already since they passed this ordinance where people are buying and selling, and both the buyer side and the seller side, there's issues, and what's all. It's not surprising that realtors aren't particularly well informed. Nobody is. It's such arcane stuff, and it's so complicated. Just take a look at that recent article in the Wenatchee World where the building official was describing this problem of converting garages into STRs and how that's illegal, and just try and understand it.
Well, and again, it's a behavior issue, right? So are you now saying that if I'm with my significant other and she kicks me out to the couch and I go sleep in my shop because I have a little office out there and a couch, that's illegal now, right? The Gestapo's going to come by and say, hey, you can't do that. So it's this jump like, oh, we better outlaw this because some people might do that, which may or may not even be the right answer, the legal answer.
Yeah, I've heard stories about building permits being denied because there's extra space in the house, and the county is concerned that might be converted into an STR. These are just anecdotal, and I don't have firsthand knowledge of them. Just stories I've heard. So, but the bottom line is it's really complicated, and you need to. I would suggest for realtors, get as informed as you can about the whole process, and make you a better realtor.
Yeah, make you a better realtor. It's also dangerous, right? The more you know, the more it becomes dangerous. What you need to do for sure is make sure your clients get informed. And what I always tell my agents is stay in your lane. You're not an attorney. Be careful on this one, but make sure your people understand. And you can know the basics. But what we did is we had, when the moratorium was in place, we had our lawyer for our firm draft an addendum that we included on all our transactions just as a disclosure. Like, we don't even know what's going to happen. This is before they pass the ordinance. But it's a big deal. And it kind of leads me into this, as you and I both worked together for a long time, right? What is going on? Like, fundamentally, what is going on in Chelan County?
Yeah, you've heard me talk about that. As you said, we've known each other a long time, and you've heard me talk many times about the issue of affordable housing, and in BNCW particularly, that's a focus on from that organization. And we always look at it through that lens, and it seems like every time we turn around, there's a new rule and each one of those little rules seems to make sense. For instance, the lead arsenic issue, well, it's dangerous out there. We got to do something about that. What about water rights and mitigation? And the county passed a new water mitigation ordinance for fees in the Wenatchee and River Basin primarily, and the Antioch River Basin. And just one after another, we get more and more strict regulation. But each one of them, each one little piece seems to make sense. But when you add them all up, it's just a huge attack on affordability. Mm-hmm. Two things happen. One is just the outright cost of building a home. But more importantly, it's the artificial restriction on the supply of housing, which drives prices up. And there's no question about that. You have all these artificial constraints. And so prices go up, and we talk about affordable housing, but we don't do much. We do these things like the land, Chelan Land Trust has a nice project going on. There's a few of those going on. But there's not enough scale to make any difference in the actual meaningful world of real estate prices.
Yeah, when we were talking affordable, I had a meeting with the city of Chelan, and I made a statement. It was a pre-app hearing, and I was talking to them about a development, and I said, when I say the word affordable housing and you say the word affordable housing, I think we're talking about different things. I think you think it means subsidized housing. And they're like, oh, no, Russ, we get it. And I said, well, when I say affordable housing, I'm talking about the fact that you can't afford to live here. Right? You, the engineer, and you working at the city, and you, the teacher, and you, the cop, and you, the normal person that used to work hard and be able to buy a house. I'm talking about you being priced out. And rules, like you said, they might be logical. But when you compound rule after rule after rule, and then you add the 7 governmental agencies that you have to go through, then you think about the fact that Chelan County in itself is owned about 88% by the government to begin with. And then you add topography. Then you add infrastructure, water, sewer, power. Then you add zoning restrictions. All of a sudden, that little piece of pie that is the private sector for development is so expensive to buy, to acquire, and then so expensive to build that the big bad wolf developer isn't a big bad wolf developer because he wants to be or she wants to be. It's because the only person that you have to sell it for that much money in order to pay for all the crap.
Well, and there's a lot of risk involved.
Tons
of risk. That's a high-risk proposition, building especially spec houses, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I did the arithmetic just not long ago, and roughly 25% of the actual cash outlay to build a house are direct payments to the government, sales tax, building permit fees, hookup fees, you name it. And it's a big number.
Yeah, it reminds me of my dad was farming growing up in Manson, and the government kept adding a regulation, and went through different phases. Finally, he was like, one more regulation, I'm out of business or one more blip, one little hailstorm, one little frost. You get to that margin so skinny, and builders are going through it now where you think they're just making tons of money, and maybe they are. Maybe some of them are, but I'll tell you what, when a subcontractor is charging what they're charging because there's just not enough of them, that's another supply constraint where we just don't have enough people. Who's gonna win? Well, it's not the people that are usually complaining about the development. They're gonna lose. The people that really don't like developers, our growth, are actually hurting themselves with this affordable housing crisis. This supply and demand. We come back down. I want to get into the difference of, like, right across the river, there's Douglas County, and fundamentally, why is there so many differences? Because it's hard to imagine getting there to to where we're at today. So we'll be right back in a few minutes talking with Dan Beardslee about government and real estate.
Keller Williams, you make dreams come true. Home sweet home, home sweet home.
With the new Keller Williams School of Real Estate, you can now get your license for free. Access tools, tips, and personalized coaching with Keller Williams award-winning training programs, and start off your career in real estate the right way. K-Score is 100% online and entirely free to students, with pre-licensing curriculum geared toward placing aspiring agents on a direct path to licensure and profitability. With K-Score, we're not just unlocking the door, we're opening every door to anyone that's ever dreamed of starting their career in real estate. We're making a difference for you so that you can make a difference for others. Now available for all individuals in Washington. Your future awaits. Enroll today.
We're excited. We got a lot of people signing up, so give us a call, 509-888-0038, or simply email us at joinus@kwnCW.com. Let's go from being stuck to unstuck.
Hi, this is Russ McClellan, designated broker and operating partner of Keller Williams Realty NCW. You know, we have almost 70 agents and growing rapidly. We're almost a legit company now with over 2.5 years experience. The good news is this: if you're thinking about changing your life, my goal and my mission to you is to help you transform the life that you deserve and that you want, using real estate as the vehicle to do that. What does that mean? Well, it means whatever you want it to mean. If you want to work part-time, I'll show you how to do it. If you want to work full-time, I'll show you how to do it. And I'm also willing to show and demonstrate our commitment to you and our conviction to our company and transparency by giving you any of the numbers of any of the 70 people that work at Keller Williams. We're a family, we care about each other, and we care about you. So if you want to change your life, you want to get into real estate and have some fun, let's get together and talk. 509-888-0038. Give me a call anytime. You can also call my cell phone at 509-470-2416.
You're tuned to Russ McClellan and Friends on the Real Estate Show Home Sweet Home. Let's get back to Russ.
Hey, welcome back to Home Sweet Home with Russ McClellan and Dan Beardslee. Dan, the Columbia River splits these two counties, and I've been involved in real estate on both of them for 30 years. And we've evolved into this place where they have very different game plans, at least very different approaches to how they're handling the pressures of growth and the changes in the economy and technology. And what do you think? Well, first of all, what is the major difference between the two?
Well, I think a couple things. One, well, Chelan County is obviously population-wise a lot bigger, and they got other issues. They got tourism in Leavenworth, Chelan areas that are different. It's a different in some ways, but in many ways, regulatory-wise, it's the same body of law that governs both counties. From a land use perspective, the Growth Management Act, the Washington State Growth Management Act, applies to both counties. In Douglas County, we got 3 new commissioners in the last 5 years or so. Completely different attitude than the prior commissioners. So that's where it all starts, policy-wise. And then they dictate policy, and they hire the right people. They got a new planning director in Douglas County that replaced the planning director who was there for many years. Really good guy, Mark Botello. He's been around the area for a long time, has roots in the community, knows the area, knows he's been in Chelan County and Cashmere and Entiat, and now he's in Douglas County. I think that makes a big difference. In Chelan County, we've had, I don't know how many planning directors in the last 15 years, probably 8, I don't know, 9, 10, I don't know how many.
Why do you think that is?
Well, they part of the reason I mentioned having local connection is none of them, other than one, and he wasn't well suited for the job, but none of them have local connections. They all come from someplace else and set foot here and try to change things and make things the way they think they should be. Not critical of that so much as it just doesn't work out if you don't For instance, I had a conversation with the assistant planning director in Chelan County not long ago and suggested that a lot of what's going on in Chelan County, in the rural areas, the unincorporated areas, has either is driven by or related to agriculture, and particularly the tree fruiting industry. And there was, I didn't get the impression that she was all that interested in reaching out to that community and seeing what land use policies affect them, and what we all want to protect ag and the tree fruit industry, but sometimes we do just the exact opposite of what's actually necessary, and sometimes it's entirely counterintuitive. And those of us who have been around for a while, we have a lot better understanding of that industry, and it would be, I think it would be nice if they'd reach out to that. And that's what I mean by a local connection. Yeah. We get these planning directors from out of the area, don't really understand the local economy and what drives it and what works and what doesn't work. And a lot of times we'd sure wish they'd reach out to people that do understand all that, people like me and you and the ag industry and all that.
Well, it's heartbreaking. I mean, I have people right now that I'm working with that are facing bankruptcy after multi-generational farming. And, you know, for years, I remember all the way back into the 90s where we used to say, well, you could go to the basin and buy $1,000 an acre land, but if you buy here and you spend the $15,000 an acre for irrigated land, this is back a long time ago, it's much more than that now, and make it an apple orchard, you'll always have that as a fallback position that you might be able to short plat or cut out your house, or, you know, and not be forced into bankruptcy as your margins get lower and lower and lower. And if it's not for some creative BLAs, boundary line adjustments, segregations, some kind of exemptions for these farmers, many of them are just going to go under.
Well, I think that's so true. I've talked to hundreds of tree fruit operation people in the last however many years, and it's really a struggle for a small operation. Even people who have a couple hundred acres of pears or apples are really struggling, and if they can't do something else to realize some of the value from their land, they're going to fail. And you can zone it for agriculture all day long. That doesn't mean somebody's going to farm it. No,
it's a sad situation, and that's where the regulations compound and the lack of interpretation. And I mean, it's not an easy solution, but boy, oh boy, I mean, name anything in government other than maybe hospice. I mean, the last couple of years, my mom is close to the end, and my dad died in 2020 in hospice. I mean, that's about the only government program that I feel has it figured out, because those guys should probably run the country. At least the people we've worked with are beautiful people, and everybody else, I just don't, you know. And I can't bitch too much because I'm not running for office, right? So I'm armchair quarterbacking, which I usually don't like to do. But, you know, I see the pain, and I also see the fundamental problem where supply and demand, you know, fundamentally, if you take an Econ 101 class, supply and demand usually dictates price, right? You know,
those are immutable laws, and I don't think you can regulate the hell out of them. But
yeah, I mean, if you don't find some ways to get some houses built that and make it a more affordable and or at least more predictable, because that's really the key. You talked about the risks in developing and building, but predictability for a developer is huge, because if you can't get that,
well, and the more risky it gets, Russ, the more a builder or a developer is going to want as a profit share. They just are, because they won't take the risk. They could put it in the stock market and earn more money. There's an opportunity cost there.
Yeah, risk return. I spoke to some people in some like businesses a while back, and they asked me where I thought I would see the market. It was like 2 years ago, where I thought the market would be in 5 years, and I said it's going to be a hell of a lot more expensive. Well, this was before COVID, and I said, and the reason is because the same people that don't want growth, don't want any building, are also the same people bitching about affordable housing. And I'm like, do you guys not see the connection?
Yeah,
I mean, it's all together.
There's an issue just reducing the cost of lumber or electrical wire or whatever component it is. That's not going to change the cost of housing when you have this imbalance in supply and demand, because any builder worth his salt, anybody, you or I or anybody else, is going to sell the house or what the market says it's worth. Mm-hmm. we're not going to lower the price just because the cost is less. We might want to take advantage of that and make more money. That's just common sense. Anybody would do that.
Yeah, and if you streamline...
So it takes a long time to ratchet back some of these regulations to where the risk is less and the supply comes up and price moderates.
Yeah, look at Douglas County. I mean, what they did, they made some major changes in their ideology from their planning department, and it's working. I mean, there's, when I'm talking to investors and developers, they're wanting to do things. They're wanting to invest money in the communities now at a all-time high. And then I look at Chelan County, and I'm like, man, and they do have, a lot more people and a lot more challenges from the west to the east with population and tourism. But one regulation on top of another regulation on top of another regulation,
and what you see is a shift. The larger projects are moving to Douglas County simply because it's a more friendly and business-friendly environment over there. Microsoft is locating their big data center there. There's a 300-unit apartment complex going up on Northeast 5th. That's in the approval process right now and expected to be approved. There's all kinds of stuff going on in Baker Flats, around Pangbourne. The port has been very proactive in getting development, and that's all supported by the political establishment there in Chelan County, and it's just plain a lot more friendly to business than it is in Chelan County, where you just run up to regulatory hurdles all the time.
Yeah, it's frustrating. It's going to be scary too, because I'm worried. I'm really worried. I'm very focused on a project for 2 years that my partner Luke and I have been working on to figure out a way to build more efficiently and with economies of scale, and it's for a different show, but I'm focused on it, and it's hard. It's really frustrating, but we're still working on it, and I'm scared because I'll tell you what, for the first time in history, people in Puget Sound have been told that they can make the same amount of money that they used to have to live in Puget Sound to make, and up until 2 years ago. Now they don't. There's a percentage of those people out of 4.6 million. You don't need a very big percentage that are now moving their families here, and power to them. I get it. We live here for a reason. So I never get upset for people that want to live in a cool place, because that's why we live here. So, people are if they have opportunity, you would do the same thing. But we better pay attention to that, because like markets like Leavenworth and Chelan have never had that. We've always had retirees, second homes, and investors. And now if you get a percent of 4.6 million people coming, we're talking thousands and thousands of people that are making way more money. And, I don't know. I think there's got to be some common sense as we apply regulation, and I don't know if one regulation after another is going to fix the problem.
Well, it's taking a look at the big picture, I think, and say when affordability is an issue, how do we overcome that? Right.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming in as usual. We could talk for days and days and days, and maybe we should just go hunt something instead.
Happy to do it, Russ. Thanks, despite all your hyperbole about me.
Yeah, godfather of land planning. Give Dan a call if he has testing equipment for lead arsenic, which is another fun rule. If you're going to do any development work at all, give him a call at 509-670-4318. Be right back with Sharon Crockett and PrimeLending.
Keller Williams, you make dreams come true.
Hey, this is Russ McClellan, operating partner and designated broker of Keller Williams Realty, North Central Washington. Hey, I'm excited to say we are growing at an unprecedented rate. We're almost 70 real estate brokers and popping about 3 deals a day in some cases. It's really pretty fun, and the reason I wanted to do an ad today was about our people. The culture of Keller Williams is really simple this. We believe in an abundant mindset, not a scarcity mindset. What does that mean? Well, although we're competitive, we all go out and try to get some similar listings. And with almost 70 people, you might think that that's a problem. But in reality, with an abundant mindset, we know that for us to win, you don't have to lose. With our creative marketing that is unbelievable, with our operating system Command, we're reaching literally hundreds of thousands of people instantly. So if you're interested in selling or buying with one of our agents, Trust me, you won't be disappointed. Give us a call at our office, 509-888-0038, or email me direct at russ@frontlinechelan.com. Hi, this is Russ McClellan with Keller Williams Realty, North Central Washington. Hey, I have an exciting opportunity that I want to share. Starting November 1st, Keller Williams is partnered with the largest real estate school in the country, and we are now offering free real estate training. That includes not just the 90 hours that you need for pre-licensing requirements by the state of Washington, but real-life practical experience as well. Give us a call at 509-888-0038 or email us at joinus@kwncw.com.
You're listening to Home Sweet Home with Russ McClellan and Friends. And here's Russ.
Today I got Sharon Crockett. We're very lucky because Sharon Crockett is in the house on the airway calling in with PrimeLending. Hi, Sharon.
Hi, good morning. How are you, Russ?
We're doing great. Yeah, you're always so energetic. How do you do it? Like, you're always positive and you're always like solution-based in your communication. And I just think it's kind of a lost art these days. I hear so many other people that are just, this problem, that problem. But with PrimeLending, it seems like it's just a solution-based mentality. Like, we have the answers.
Yeah, that's good to hear. I love that. And, I think to think about that, I wonder where that comes from. And my dad, who was a captain in the Army for many, many years, he instilled a really good work ethic in both my sister and I. And as he raised us to just always be hardworking and never lazy or always involved and forward thinking kind of mentality. So I think that comes from him.
Yeah, I bet it does. And that's cool that he served in the Army, as did my dad. And my son was a Marine, so I admire those kind of guys. And the other thing I think you and Michael bring is authenticity, which is something, like you really care about people at PrimeLending, and then you're authentic in your conversation. So you're not necessarily a salesperson. You're not necessarily going to sugarcoat it. You're going to tell people what's up, but you have a plan of attack with optimism and authenticity at your core. So I just admire that. Today I thought, yeah, of course, we've been working together on the show now several years, and it's been fun. And I just am very thankful, to be your friend and to be in business with you guys. I know.
Likewise, we feel the same way.
Thank you. We've come a long ways in our third calendar year. We just did
$39 million in sales in October, and we wrote deals written $42 million in sales.
Long ways from 3.5 years ago, but we're excited.
Yeah, time flies when you're
rocking. Yeah, and you're a big part of that. So I'm just grateful. So today, one of the things that people are talking about, there's this inflationary talk, and there's this inflation where the cost of the dollar is going down, or excuse me, what the dollar's worth is going down, and the cost of goods and services are going up. And sometimes most of the time that means when you're in an inflationary market that interest rates are going to start to click up. So refinancing right now is a hot topic. And I'm just curious if you're seeing that, and what are some of the things to think about if someone is thinking, I think I'd like to refinance, what would you tell them?
Yes. We're getting a lot of calls right now on refinancing for many, many different reasons. And so it's a real exciting time to take a look and go into that advisory role that we like to do with our clients to make sure we're not just, trying to get a loan done, but really give them advice to look at the full picture. And so lots of different reasons people might call us for refinancing, from anywhere from lowering the interest rate. Believe it or not, there's still some people out there that have higher rates and they can take advantage of that. Maybe they want to lower their term from a 30-year. We can go down to 10-year, 15, 20, 25, or 30 if they want to restart the clock by lowering payments. Removing mortgage insurance is another big topic. With all the equity that people have, we've done so many refinances just from last year, people calling us, and their values have gone up so much that we were able to remove their PMI, their private mortgage insurance, which is something you have on your loan if you did not or were not able to put 20% down, switching from an FHA to a conventional loan, pulling cash out to pay off bills, do home improvements, maybe buy another home, buy some land, vacation, college. So we're getting those calls, all sorts of different reasons people might be refinancing.
Yeah, for sure. And it's not something like private mortgage insurance isn't something on a conventional loan that just automatically drops, is it? Or after a certain period of time it does. But if you can prove that you have 20% in equity, let's say you put 10% down and like you said, a year later, it's gone up over 10%. Now you in essence have 20% or more in equity. So you would be able to essentially refinance and pull out a certain amount of money every month that is part of your payment, but it goes to this insurance company, correct?
Correct. Yes, it's basically insuring the lender in case the client unfortunately defaults on their mortgage. Then that mortgage insurance kicks in and pays a portion of the balance down. But yes, if their equity does grow, then there's a couple different ways to get rid of PMI. You can either refinance and do a new appraisal, or sometimes we don't even need to do an appraisal. If the value model is there, we can waive the appraisal. But if someone's just looking to have their mortgage insurance automatically dropped, they usually have to make a year or two of on-time payments. And then if the values have increased, they can ask their servicer, whoever they're making their payments to do an appraisal just to get the mortgage insurance dropped and not refinance. So there is a way to automatically do that. And then a conventional loan, like you mentioned, after about 7 to 12 years, depending on the loan type and how much they put down, the mortgage insurance will automatically fall off, but that's usually after many, many years. So you can either petition them to get it removed sooner or just do a simple refinance, which takes care of removing that.
Yeah. The intangibles that you bring as a lender, a mortgage broker to our business is something that, unless you're in the game of real estate, they may not see. But what you guys are really good at is, you mentioned the word appraiser. We had one of your longtime appraisal colleagues and friends give a presentation to my real estate company at a sales rally recently. And it's interesting to me how many mortgage brokers don't have relationships and with their appraisers and some of the challenges that can bring. But again, going back to that solution-based thinking, but also how hard you work after and during and before. I mean, it's a complete package. So the idea of appraising right now is a hot topic as well. And maybe you could share just a couple highlights of why you guys seem to be different in the game of processing a loan.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we're all about being proactive and thinking ahead. And that probably also comes from my dad's military background. In the military, you're always having to think, 5-10 steps ahead just in case of what's going to happen. So the same thing applies to a mortgage. When we have a client that comes in and either purchases a home or refinances, we've already got a system in place that's lined up with the right communication to give the client the expectations of what to expect, to know the market, to know what our appraisers are dealing with, to know the challenges that come with that, so that we can legally work within the laws that exist in regards to appraisals and all the different parts of a process to make sure that we're, ahead of that game and giving the clients and the real estate agents a real good 5-star experience, so that a lot of that is seamless, where you don't always know what we're doing behind the scenes, and we're making it smooth so that you guys don't have to worry, and then the clients either. So
yeah, I mean, and I want to say again, thank you to you and Michael for helping my son Mason McClellan, who just got out of the Marine Corps and retired as a sergeant. He was in for 5 years, and as a young man just bought a house in the Chelan area. I said, yes. It's Chelan, and he's a young man, so he has some work. It's a fixer-upper, but I said, I'm going to introduce you to a couple words. They're called sweat equity. But you guys were able to help him get into it, and he used the rehab or enhancement renovation type loan where it was a 90-year-old house and had some issues, but we were able to, basically close on the loan with the house as is, so the seller got paid. And then some of those bigger ticket items like septic and heating and cooling systems, are going to be put in now after closing and then financed into his loan. And I think in our market with people like my son and frankly, many of us that live in North Central Washington, the way the market is appreciated, it's getting harder and harder to find an affordable product if you have a regular, professional job in this area. So those kind of loans and that kind of creativity, I think, if you don't think you can do something because somebody else told you, if you're listening to me right now, I've been doing this for 3 decades in this area. Call Sharon and call Michael, because not everybody is the same. And maybe you got some bad advice, or maybe that advice is old news, and now PrimeLending has a solution, like my son, because frankly, if it wasn't for you guys, he would not own a house. It's that simple.
Oh, we're so happy that Michael did a great job working with Mason, and we thank him for his service to our country, and I'm so happy that he's got his own place, and we're happy to give people second opinions. I mean, there's so many different situations out there. If someone's working with another lender or a bank and they simply just want to expand their options, or they're just not sure, then we're happy to have a conversation and just see what, if there is any other options or things that we can do to help people get to their goals.
Yeah, I mean, I just told my daughter's looking over on the other side of the mountains, which is even harder. And I told her, hey, look, would it be fair to say that 95% of the people are looking for 3 and 4 bedroom houses? And she goes, yeah. And I said, so why don't you look for a 1 or 2 bedroom house, use this enhancement loan, and then add a bedroom or 2? And one of the things your appraiser said, we got about a minute left, but one of the things your appraiser said is that square footage, when you add square footage, is one of the best ways to add equity or have a greater appreciation. And so that program is just really, if you can't find the home you're looking for, call one of our agents and talk to Michael and Sharon at PrimeLending, because there may be a way that maybe only 5% of the people are looking at that 2-bedroom house, and you buy that at X price, then add the bedroom through this enhancement loan, and all of a sudden you have instant equity, even in an extreme seller's market. So
I love it. That's a great idea. So creative and goes with our proactive thinking.
Yeah. Well, thanks a lot for calling in here. If you have any questions at all, you can get a hold of Sharon at 425-327-1451. I appreciate you very much, Sharon. Thank you for calling in.
Thank you. Appreciate you too, Russ. Have a great day.
All right, everybody. Go outside, spend some time with your friends and family, enjoy life, practice kindness, show some grace, show some forgiveness, and enjoy the moment. As my man JP said, live in the moment. See you next year.
It's a brand new day, just came my way. I bought a new home, yeah, home, sweet home, oh, home, sweet home. Keller Williams, I love my dream home. Yeah, I love my dream home. Home, sweet home.